Hello. Can you hear me? Hello?
Good morning, everybody. I had to leave out and come back in because I started early. So thank you, Miss Davis, for letting me know that you all couldn't get in. So I told Grady to leave out and come back in.
Can you hear me at all?
Yes, I can hear you. I am recording.
Okay, there it is. There it is.
How are
Okay.
you?
Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you, Miss Simmons? Mr. Grady will be coming back in, and then we're waiting on Miss Davis. Are you representing anybody this morning?
Yeah, City Colleges of Chicago with the Career Growth program.
Yes, I have a slide for you.
Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
I love it. I was trying to share it on Facebook, but it kept giving me windows out the windows. I said, nope, that's okay. I'm just going to keep it like this.
All right, no worries.
So let me get everyone started. I'm Deja or Antoinette. If I get off track, just let me know. But I do want to start prompt.
Okay.
We already late, 4 minutes. Give everybody 1 more minute. And I'm going to share my my screen. I created some slide decks for us today. So let me share my screen. Okay. And this is the one I'm going to share if you guys can see me. And it's going to be a presentation. Okay, so good morning, everyone. This is the Committee of Changing Oasis. We have invited all to participate in our community outreach, where we're talking about education, community development, as also financial literacy and education. We do have some special guest speakers, and we are so excited that City Colleges have joined us. We're waiting on the 29th Ward Alderman Chris Telefero to come on and join us. And this is just a new way of doing things. As you all know, we are still virtual, and sometimes we are in the office, but nevertheless, we want to be able to still serve the community as well as be able to give resources to those that don't have the, I want to say, the connections or even know where to go or get it. Okay. So I'm Audrey Woodley. I'm the founder, executive director for Changing Oasis. This is 2019, 2009. And so I started out as a school teacher, and what I found was, as a school teacher at Michelle Clark, there were a lot of adults that didn't know how to read. So that's how I started the literacy for change, because you'll be amazed that students were going to school, but the parents were still working, but a lot of parents left school to work. So you're going to see a lot of that in some of the communities going forward. There's going to be a lot of people just as quit, and then they're working, and then they just left school. So we have to be able to fill those gaps and be able to bring resources and I want to say materials as well as education to the community, no matter if it's online, at a school, at a church, at a nonprofit, wherever the case may be, at a city colleges. We have to make sure that our community is getting the resources that they need. So one of the things that I did, we're funded by a grant with Opera, and we did reach out to St. Augustine, and we actually did a 6-week apprenticeship program where I actually created the program, developed it, and it was kind of like based off the business project management from what I was doing with ComEd. So what I did was I just brought this program in, so we'll be able to see some movement, because we don't want to get grants and don't have movement with what we're doing or service the community. So I said, why not do something in project management, since we have construction, logistics, we also have the highways construction going on. And what a better way to serve the community by giving them, something, a certification and something that they could use, but they still have to have some type of high school diploma or a GED, which we're going to talk about today. So I'm excited that our students pretty much got through the program during the fourth quarter. So it was like the fourth quarter clutch. We got it in there, and then we're still pushing to run another program. So that's kind of like where I started. Since 2020, we have been funded by the federal government, and we are also under the school district of West 40. So if you all see West 40, we are part of the school district West 40. So we do bring apprenticeship programs, high school diplomas, mentoring, and tutoring, as well as outreach services, which we're going to talk about. In today's agenda, we do have, like I said, education, workshop development, housing, collaboration and support. Teachers in the community, we're finding that a lot of teachers are just left the building, so we got to figure out how we're going to get the teachers to come back, whether it's hybrid, whether it's going to be virtual. We still want those teachers to come back. Even if you're in college, you got 90 credit hours, you can still be a substitute and still be a part of, rebuilding, re-imaging back the community. And also we want to collaborate with some parents in the community. We did invite NAACP, and we did do an outreach to the principals. So it's still up to all of us to still carry the conversation and don't let it fall on deaf ear just because election time is rolling around. We still have a need to serve the community. It's going to be lit. Okay. So here's my next guest, Jewel. Jewel is our project manager. She's here. So thank you, Jewel.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, hey everyone, how you doing?
How you doing?
Pretty good.
All right. We do have Grady Norwood, our outreach manager for the opera grant. He should be coming back online. He keeps me on my toes. But you do need some type of person that's going to be your outreach manager. So he's connected with the community college, as well as have a site visit to go to one of the sites for some of their programs, because a lot of times people just don't know all what the community colleges have to offer. We also have Victoria McClain. Do you hear me, sweetheart? I see you on here. How are you doing, Victoria?
I'm doing great. For some reason, my video won't allow you guys to see me, but you can hear me.
Okay. And then we have the conversation with Chris Talaferro. He is not here. Hopefully he can join us, but this was his day to come in and tell us about everything he is doing in the community. Everybody knows he is also a practicing attorney. He has a law practice that's right next door to his alderman's office. And what I found out when I met him about a week ago, well, when it's his office, I met him. What I found out was that he does help families with probate, wills, estate planning. And that's something that the community needs to know, because a lot of times families are caught in between the crossfire of who's getting the property, who ain't gonna get the property, and all that good stuff. So I wanted to do a little bit of conversation with him about, about the CPS high schools and literacy, and about the housing, and about also the block builder, which we was really looking at as to having for our community to reinvest back in our community. Because if we don't invest in our community, then who's going to come in to do it? So we have to take ownership in our own community, in our own education, as well as being able to provide jobs and resources for the 29th Ward, 37th, and all those other Garfield Park. That is a big, huge West Side community, and we want to be able to service those that needs that. And by me working in the community as well as living in the community, I just see a lot of things that has transitioned over the last 20 to 30 years. And so we want to be able to be a part of the change and be able to be an asset to the community. So I'm still waiting on Chris. If he doesn't come in, we're still going to keep it rolling here this morning. And much obliged. I want to also say thank you, Deja, for coming in. Deja is on my team with Changing Oasis with ISB. She is our case manager, and she works with the students, mentoring and tutoring. So thank you to Deja for joining us, as she is experiencing her virtual life as well as being a case manager.
Thank you, Audrey.
Yes. So Victoria, if you have a moment, could you please give us a little insight? This is Women History Month, and we wanted to make sure that we give you some opportunity, because I know we spoke on Saturday because I had a few young men that were interested in being home buyers. And then just tell us a little bit about your background and then some services or programs that you're offering.
Hi, my name is Victoria McClain. I'm a real estate broker here in Chicago. I own my own firm under my name, Victoria McClain. I've been doing real estate for about 20 years. I was born and raised on the west side of Chicago, grew up on North Avenue in Laramie. My parents were born and raised on the west side of Chicago, um, Parkside and West End, Menard, and Madison. So I'm very familiar with the West Side. I've loved the West Side since I was a little girl. And I think the West Side is one of the communities that has not been loved on. And it will take us as people who've been living here, who are transplants, who were born and raised in this area, to rebuild the community. Waiting on the government to do it or somebody else to come in, it's just not going to happen. And if they do it, it's not going to be for us. So, if we want the West Side to continue to be ours and continue to be the best side, we have to step in and make some changes. And one of the things that we can do is start buying up the land. A nice percentage of the land on the west side is owned by the city of Chicago, and the rest is owned by corporations. Then we have, our grandparents who may have owned property, and now they're leaving us, and either our parents are not stepping up to take the property, or the grandchildren are not stepping up. They're losing it for taxes. They're losing them for foreclosure reasons. They're losing them for multitude of reasons. And so if we can work to educate our community on the different financial resources, financial literacy, in order for them to step in and take over the community, keep their grandmother's land. That's our legacy. That's how people build wealth. They build it from their grandparents, leaving them real estate that has equity, and they pull that equity out to do other things with it, or they leverage that equity. So it's many things that we can do with real estate and with financial literacy that includes debt counseling. A lot of us in our community use cash. We don't use credit. I know my grandmother, she grew up in an era where cash, you couldn't be Black and get credit. Now we can get credit, and we don't do it, or we do it and we mess it up. So it's so many things that we can touch on and we need to touch on, and I'm here for it. I've been working on different programs where we're teaching people on how to buy land in the community. I'm not knocking Cook County Land Bank, but they don't usually help us get land. They don't, they make it real difficult. I'm not knocking them. So if you've used the program, or somebody who's used the program and they were able to benefit from, good. But I don't know anybody who has. And I know a lot of people who I've referred to Cook County Land Bank, and they've all said the same thing, like, oh my God, they're making it difficult. They're not helping me. Can I, I really want this property. I've been seeing it vacant for 15 years. And then it turn around and they give it to a developer, so I'm just whatever I need to do, however I can assist, I'm working with Changing Oasis so that we can do first-time home buyers programs. We can take the entrepreneurs in our community that do make cash and show them how to use their self-employment status to purchase property, because a lot of us in our community do make cash, and there's no reason why we're unable to benefit from FHA. We have a lot of veterans in our community that's not taking advantage of their VAs, so it's, I'm just, wherever I need to step in, that's where I'm at.
Yeah. And
Can I just, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
This Grady, I just wanted to comment on what Victoria, she was right on point when she talked about, especially the Cook County Land Bank. They're so busy down there stealing, going to jail and stuff. So that's another
Right.
story. But yes, you're absolutely right. They'll come out and they'll talk about how great these programs are, but it never, it never plays out to what they market. So I don't know if that's a political decision, a policy decision, but it's not working for the average citizen in these communities.
Okay, and this will be a good point where the alderman can come in and talk about that, because owning your property, being able to have some stability is very key when you think about, I'm gonna loop this back into education, because most of the kids that live in the community, either they're gonna walk or they're gonna get on the bus. But if we have an unstable community where we have a lot of renters than home buyers, or home buyers that have been in their properties for years, and then they're fighting over the properties, it's unstable. And so it's like, how do we get to fix that? And then what programs do we have to, to captivate the family? And then I hate to say it, they'll pull a program out, but then what does it leave the grandma? Because the grandmas are still holding on or still taking care of the building. But you have to have stability. We have to, and I know it's a lot of single family homes. I know there's a lot of churches, there's a lot of community organizations, but what is it going to take for us to really connect with those community colleges, with those high schools that we see that have low enrollment? And so I'm gonna loop city colleges in here, because I want them to come on and talk about the career growth program and let us know some of the things that we can work on as far as building that pipeline and finding out the community needs and how we can, help service some of these homes.
Thank you so much, Audrey. I appreciate this opportunity to share with our.
Okay.
We lost her.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
Can you
go
hear
ahead.
me now?
Yes,
All right.
I can hear you.
So my name is Dr. Lautauscha Davis. I am excited to be here this morning with you folks and really feeling that energy. I enjoyed Victoria's presentation about what is really a critical piece for us and us saving our own community. So I really appreciate having had this chance with you folks. I don't know how this got into my email. I have several of them, but I'm really excited about this one today. So thank you so much for your invigorating spiel, Victoria. I think I am in a great space today. I have spent some time on the West Side. I was a coordinator for a while for City Colleges of Chicago over at West Side Learning Center that is now in the care of Barbara Moschino. She's the dean over there now, and she's always recruiting and looking for ways to better utilize that space and to get resources out to the community. So I'm definitely going to forward the information over there to her, because I'm not sure she really knows all about this great stuff that's happening and how she too can partner with you folks, even if it's about space needs or hosting meetings or things of that sort. At least she can be a good resource. But I believe what I was called here to talk about today was a program called Career Grow Chicago. Career Grow Chicago is another one of the many programs that comes through City Colleges of Chicago. With us being one of the largest community college systems in the Midwest, you could imagine we get many, many, many opportunities to partner with different individuals, different agencies and organizations. And we're typically really bogged down with trying to even finagle through there, because there's always some energy in our very great neighborhoods, but it's very limited resources that we're able to extend by way of MOUs and different partnerships. And so for you guys to get through and hear means that something really great is happening somewhere. So Career Grow Chicago is a grant that City Colleges of Chicago has received in tandem with DFSS. So that's the Department of Family Support Services. So we, in conjunction with them, received a $3 million grant. Wow. This monies was supposed to be used in two different ways. So some parts of the money was really on the credit side. So this is our program that's at Olive Harvey College. So, Olive Harvey College, I call it Indiana. It's very far on the south side. It is the most southern school for sure, but even it being southeast. So the credit side program at Olive Harvey College really is the center of excellence. There is around supply chain, transportation, distribution, and logistics. those are big words, but for us, we know that that simply means that people are going there so they can start a career in aviation, so they can start a career as truck drivers, both with their CDL-A, their CDL-B. So those are people that are driving the CTA buses or the big rigs. There's a lot of word around auto diesel tech, so that our students are preparing to work on the planes and with these diesel folks. And so Olive Harvey College is really growing. I worked there for about 5 years. I served as the Dean of Adult Education and ESL there. But there's some great work there under the great leadership of President Hollingsworth, who is a really community grassroots type of person. So her to be serving in that role as president there, we've seen some great things grow at Olive Harvey College, and we're really excited about that. But the bulk of the grant, again, went with the credit side. I'm sorry, a portion of the grant went with the credit side. So Olive Harvey College is the college that offers those unique programs, and they also offered in business, education, childcare. So there's a plethora of programs that they offer. And when they offer these programs, what we do is we make sure that those students take advantage of many of the already existing resources. We have Future Ready, we have our WEI grant. So the good thing about a student who decides to go to a community college to get their credit in those different programs is that they get exposed to so many opportunities. There should not be a single student almost paying for school. Back in the day, back when, I was younger, you wondered if you could go to college because you were poor. And so you thought college was this place that was so expensive, when the truth was, even then and now, that there was lots of grants out. I just didn't know about them, and I didn't know the school could potentially be free, especially because I came from a poor neighborhood. So I was born and raised on Inglewood, sorry, not West Side, but I had a lot of friends on the West Side that went to some of the Mesmers and things over there on that side. But nevertheless, a prosperous something it was, yeah. I was a Lindblom girl, but nevertheless.
That's okay.
We won't hold that against you.
Okay. But nevertheless, that program, Career Growth Chicago, the goal is they also provide stipends for the students. So outside of their traditional financial aid that may come by way of grants and things, we're really working hard so the students don't have to access loans. We're really working hard that they can resolve some of their financial impediments along the way. We know how it can be something as simple as their car generator goes out or the starter's out on a car. And we know that's something small, but that is huge for somebody who's relying on that transportation for school and work and family. So these stipends that are now generated and provided to students by way of Career Growth Chicago, we know that that's going to have a great impact on students being able to persist through our programs. And in addition to that, the students actually are assigned what's called a success coach on the credit side. This is a great opportunity for students because we know that there's lots of resources that colleges and communities have, but really connecting the people to those is a challenge for us in this very vulnerable state for so many people. So this success coach that they are assigned is an individual that really identifies resources both in the community as well as at the college to meet that student's diverse and unique needs. And so we're excited about this new position, the success coach that we're able to pay for as a result of this grant that we've now secured with DFSS from the city of Chicago. So that's a really great resource that we're able to do on the credit side. So there's another entity that I'm most familiar with, right? I'm from adult ed. My world has been adult ed for about 10 years now. I'm very proud to I actually was a student in adult ed in 1990 when I had 2 children at 19 and dropped out of school and was just trying to figure out life. I went to Daly College for their GED program. Then I think it was referred to as like a GED program. So I went there. And since then, I've worked all the way through to a doctorate degree. And so I share my story, not because I need praise, but because I want students and people to know that, there are things out here that can support you on those journeys. And so I do this work. I don't think I do it for free, but I think I do it even if I wasn't in this role, because I know the challenges that can come with people who do not have an education. They probably don't have a decent job, and they're probably very unstable because they don't have a job that leads to good housing. And so there's a conundrum of things that just keeps happening to you, and you're always a victim if you don't get that education piece together, right? And so the work we're doing on the adult ed side by way of this Career Growth Chicago is we're looking at the students in our Career Bridge programs, and we're trying to get them career ready, not job ready, but career ready. So we are using the monies to provide a stipend as well. So students who are in our formerly called GED, is actually called HSD now, we refer to it as high school diploma program. Those students receive a stipend every semester. And you know, for adult ed, they traditionally don't qualify for grants and things of that sort. So this stipend equitably will be more resourceful. It'll be very helpful for people who don't have any source of income coming from the college. We also provide what's called a career coach. So this person is talking to them, to the students in our bridge program to say, hey, you got this certificate in CDLB. You don't just want to find a job. We want to see where can we get you going that's a stable company that offers a livable wage, and that you can start your journey with CTA. You can start your journey with PACE. And so our goal really is to utilize those newly employed career coaches to really work with students one-on-one so that those students become knowledgeable about and very skilled in finding a career that really gets them on the path of working a livable wage. And so they then can pass that down to their children. And so in these very small ways, we're hoping that we can help build communities in that way. Aside from that, we also use the money that we receive to do what's called a student ambassador or volunteer. We know for a lot of adult ed students that are returning to the college and have been out of the college or even the education scene for a very long time, we know that there's a phenomenon that's occurring with them feeling a sense of belonging. And so these student ambassadors, they are paid a stipend, but they work hand in hand. They're assigned to students just so that the student knows where everything is on campus, so the student doesn't leave feeling like that's not a place for me, or if their reading or language skills need some help, that we can help assist them with identifying the different resources at the campus. So we're using the career growth funds on the adult ed side in that way. So I just need 2 more minutes to talk. And do I have 2 more minutes, Audrey, just to share about where these programs are?
Yes, and then we're going
Okay.
to ask you some questions.
Sure, no worries. I got a whole presentation back right here, and I'm going to send it to you, Audrey, to share with your great team. But I just thought it was more of a conversation today, so
Yes.
I don't want to bore you with all these slides they send us with. So the other part is, so with adult education, we have students who are learning English as a second language, as well as individuals who are seeking to get their high school diploma. Now, we serve students at all 6 colleges with the exception of Harold Washington College. So at the other 6 colleges, we have this free program. We encourage students to go to these programs because if you're at a college, you get so much more. So you can potentially benefit from some of the transportation programs. We do have bus cards at some of the colleges that help students get back and forth. If they're at the college, they're also benefiting from our wellness center. We know that there's a depletion of resources for mental health. And so if you're at the college, at least you can visit the wellness center. They do in-house work with the students. They do referrals to places to help students who need that extra stability or who are going through different challenges. They have emergency funds set up to help students with some of those problems around energy bills and things of that sort. So we know that we have the community where sites can be, but when you think about the need of a student, it's greater than a classroom, right? And so we want to encourage folks to utilize the colleges to the full, because a student at a college gets about 6 to 9 more types of resources that we aren't able to duplicate in small efforts around in the community. So we want, and our colleges are spread out to serve a great portion of Chicagoland area. So at those 6 colleges, they have what's called bridge programs. And that's where students are working on their high school diploma, but they're also gaining a certificate in a program. So at Olive Harvey College, those students may be getting a CDLB license. They may also be getting their CNA license, which a CNA is required even if you want to be an RN or LPN. Now the CNA license is required. So we're not telling students we only want you to be a CNA. We're saying, hey, start with your CNA. And if you want to go out and do something greater, if you want to go RN, we're here to support that as well. We're not limiting our students in any way at all. But so these students are in these bridge programs where they're receiving support and by way of this career growth grant, as well as other services that the city colleges has already provided. And so we want to make sure that folks are aware of these great programs that do exist. And of course, Audrey, I'll send you a copy of the flyers as well as the presentation that would have been shared today.
Yes. Before we end this, I wanted to make sure everybody got a chance to get your information or your phone number so they can back channel you, because you are a great resource and we don't want to lose you. because we want to be able to partner on some things because, like I said, if you have never been to college and you've barely finished high school, they're not going to be coming to college. You feel me? Because it's like, why they're not going to go to college to get a high school diploma if they ain't even finished the high school. So I don't know if I could say that more clearly, but being in the classroom, that's kind of like inferior. Like, you know, a lot of times when you go to college, you got to take that pre-test. They're not even taking the test to even get in. So to think that the students are going to just come to go get their GED, we have to find a way around that where the adults can feel comfortable in coming to organizations or even going back to their old high school to figure out how can they get connected. Because one thing I know about it, if students have just barely finished or barely making it, they're going to look at a college and be like, this is not working. So I'm glad that you're offering some services, but it still needs to connect to the community. I feel as though it's still like a disconnect somewhere.
Right. I think what we're trying to do, as you can imagine, is when you're the part of the big system, right? So one thing we have done, and we serve about almost 15 to 16,000 students a year through our Just Adult Education programs. So one thing that we are doing is that most of our programming, I would say about 80% of our programming occurs at a college, but we do have community-based sites. And so prior to COVID, in fact, we had up to like 60 sites around the city, right? And so we had a really big issue with CPS. I don't know if you guys were aware of that, but some years ago, they pulled all of the programs out of Chicago Public Schools, and for some very difficult reasons, you know, things that are beyond our control. If you could imagine, some things were occurring, and they just wanted to make sure they were making as safe a place as possible for the kids. And I appreciate that as a mother. So some years ago, because of some issues beyond our control, we had to dismantle a lot of our off-campus sites. And so then that got more dismantled with COVID. And so City Colleges, of course, is a large place that provides a lot of services. But as you mentioned, Audrey, there are some barriers for students who are intimidated. They don't want to go to that place. For one, they don't feel they belong. For two, it's a big place to even maneuver. For three, there's not always, we can't guarantee that somebody's going to step on site and feel like they belong there. So we get that. So we're working with our community-based agencies. We go out a lot and we provide information to students. We do a lot of orientations at a lot of the CBOs. We do a lot of the on-site registration. So those 3 steps that every student needs to take to get into our program, we knock that out at the site. And sometimes we've even arranged where we've had site students, potential students come and just visit the college. And then we are still growing our off-campus sites. So Richard J. Daley, as an example, I think right now they have about 7 to 9 off-campus sites. So we recognize that not everybody's going to have the comfort level to come to the college. And so we're working hard to make sure that the community is aware of the programming and the vast amount of things we can provide students on campus, but also that we're out in the community doing field trips and doing what we can to open our buildings to make people feel safer and more secure about their relationship with us as a big college. And we're working with the CBOs to get our information out. And we do orientations and testing right at some of the, especially near Malcolm X College, their dean there. She does a lot of great work with getting out into the community and doing the testing right on site. And we're trying to move to a model where we can do classes at the CBOs, because now a lot of the classes are remote. So if you want to go to Austin Community Center or something of that sort, and you still want to take your classes with Malcolm X College, for example, we're looking to move to that model where students can come to a place that's closer to them, that they feel more comfortable, but they can connect with the classes that's at the campuses. And so, you know, that's all new post-COVID, and we're really working to make that a reality for more students in the community.
Yeah, and I heard you say something about childcare, and I know Victoria was interested in, because she's in childcare too, in her journey, and she wanted to make the connection and really build that. So, Victoria, did you have a question about the childcare program or the credit?
Yes, well, yes, when she touched upon what she was talking about. So I'm a co-director of Favor STEM Academy, Daycare and Academy on the West Side, right here on Madison and Laramie. And we are a STEM-based focused daycare center. So we have a lot of programs that we do with the children surrounding STEM, because our goal is not the prison, not school to prison pipeline. We're trying to dismantle that. And one of the steps is starting with them at a young age. So we would like to, one of the things we're having problems with, we're noticing that for every 4 children we have at least one that's autistic. So we are looking for ways and trying to find resources or even a way to funnel educators who want to be in a child care field to our facility in order to get some of these children some of the one-on-one that they need, because they're not training us to deal with these children with autistic issues. So it's kind of like they're being thrown into our daycare, and we're lacking the necessary resources and also the necessary human capital to work with these children. So we're in desperate need of educators who want to do this and who's willing to participate in. If you have a program where we can funnel them through our daycare or through other daycares that's having this issue, because I know of daycares who are turning away autistic children because they just don't have the human capital to deal with it. So
Yeah.
do you guys have a program where we can link up with our daycare and other daycares in order to help the daycares provide the necessary education and a great start for these children? Because with us, they get that start they need, because a lot of them are not getting what they need at home. So we have not counselors, but we have a physical therapist that comes in and an occupational therapist that comes in for certain children, but that's like once to twice a week for like an hour. And that's not enough. We need more human capital. So how can you help us?
Right. So I have 2 thoughts, and these are, so I have 2 thoughts. I'm going to connect you with Yolaine. That's my supervisor. Actually, Yolaine is the district director of transitions. She is primarily responsible for making the connection with community folks on topics like this. So one way that I'm thinking of connecting is that we offer a bridge in adult education for early childhood education. So the students are receiving the level 1 and the level 2 credentials with the state.
Okay,
so that they can go into work in that field. So perhaps Yolaine is able to connect you with the deans and things of those particular programs to say, hey, can this be a site where students could come to do some of their work so you can get some extra hands in there while they're getting their certification? So I don't know if that is a connection, but also not only if it's outside of that, it could also be that this is a place that's referred for students when they complete their early childhood education. So there are early childhood education programs within City Colleges of Chicago. So it could be for completers to have a place where they can come work, or it could be for students where you can get some extra hands while they're earning their hours towards their education. Or it could be an opportunity for some observation too, to help those who have chosen maybe to go into special education as well. We're a 2-year institution, but we do funnel students into the 4-year if they make a commitment and they want to do education and they want to do it for special ed. So maybe there's some connection there, and maybe I'm missing a few, Victoria, but certainly when I'm done with this meeting, I want to forward your information. I started taking a few notes here, but I'll check back with Audrey to get your exact name, all the good information, so that I too can forward it to Yolaine and just explain to her a little bit about what your challenge is. So I guess in the next week or so, maybe you can expect an email from a lady named Yolaine Jean, and she's my actual supervisor. And I'll get the information from Audrey so we can, keep it moving here if you need to.
Yes. And
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Victoria. And I was gonna let Deja chime in, because right now we have a case where we have a lot of students that have special needs, ADHD. Parents are holding these kids hostage, and it's a problem. I'm giving this parent 3 options to work with me, and she keep going around in a circle. I said, baby girl, if you don't have an answer for me by Friday, I want the computer back, and your child going to be left behind. But I'm giving them 3 levels of entry. but it's the parents need the help because
Mhm.
they're holding them hostage. And then the more they hold them hostage, the more difficult to work with them. So I'm going to let Deja talk a little bit more about that because she's the case manager. I've been having her work with some of my students and just getting on board and just give us a little insight of, what could be some things that we can do to help the parents.
Hi, everyone. I'm Deja. I have been working with Changing Oasis for the past couple months as their case manager. I'm a social worker. That's my career. I've been doing clinical social work for the past 3-4 years, but I've been able to have the opportunity to work with young adults, children, adolescents within the hospital system. And now that I am doing this case management with the young girls, I definitely have been able to see that mental health is going to be a challenge, like Audrey said. Unfortunately, a lot of our youth have undiagnosed mental health issues, ADHD, autism, they're on the spectrum. Oh, that's awesome, Miss Davis. Shout out. But no, it's really unfortunate. And a lot of what I've been able to also see is that the environmental issues have a huge impact on our young people and the parents as well. I think parents feel fearful to send their kids back to school, whether it be virtual or in person. A lot of parents have experienced disappointment. They've been told that they will have certain things provided to them, certain services provided to them, and they don't. A lot of our young kids are experiencing bullying, whether it be virtual or in person. Um, uh, Environmental violence and neighborhood activity, gang violence. There's just a multitude of barriers that sometimes hinder our kids from being able to be in a formal education system. So that's why I just think Changing Oasis is so intriguing. I think it's an amazing program and opportunity. So I am really focusing on helping to educate the parents, helping having those difficult conversations so that they understand that the services that we provide, like Audrey did state, it is a timely thing. We want to get them as motivated and as participating as possible. But there is a barrier in between parents actually taking that step forward and enrolling their kids and making that decision. And I think it is a lot of surrounding about fear and just stigma of virtual learning. So that is definitely a huge goal of mine. Working with the young ladies, I'm going to be talking a lot about stress management, trauma, any kind of emotional wellness, mental health, spiritual health, even just ways that we can feel better about themselves, ways that they can feel motivated. I think a lot of factors that play into academic success also connect to our physical well-being and our mental health well-being, and just how we feel about ourselves. I know that if a young person isn't going to feel good, if they don't wake up and feel like they have the energy to get out of bed, to do their homework, to do their chores, then they're likely not going to want to go to school. So I'm really starting off fresh there, starting off with how they feel about themselves, building those life skills so that they feel the motivation to be able to go and pursue their career and know what they want to do later on in life. But mental health is a huge barrier. So we're definitely going to be hitting that hard, having those difficult conversations. I'm definitely going to be implementing some anxiety and depression scaling, starting at the beginning of my case management with the young ladies, and then towards the end, just to see how their anxiety and depression has changed. Hopefully, my goal is for that to have decreased, and for them to be comfortable to express anything that they're going through at home, things that they're going through at school. So that the academic success can just kind of all come together at the end. But yeah, like Audrey said, it really has to do with fear with the parents and just kind of getting them to trust us. The trust is a big factor. So I'm trying to help build that rapport, and hopefully that they can feel that we can provide the services that we are actually talking about.
Yes, that part. Thank you.
That's great, Deja. I know that in the work you do, my master's, as I shared, is in social work, and I wanted to do the clinical aspect of social work. But I
Yeah.
talk too much, right? I'm not a good listener. I realized that quickly, so I would be doing people a disservice. I'm just not a good listener, and I'm not as empathetic as I should be. So it's like, I really had to do my own self-walk and like on my own journey. I said, this is not for me. My mouth too bad. It's just no, I can't be as soothing, as calming. I can't. So I had to take it off into another area. So I ended in education some kind of way. But I do still teach courses for our MSW students, and still really always happy about the work that we do. But Deja, just a word to you. I know a lot of times in the work we do, you feel like sometimes working with those clients that there's no change.
Yeah.
And sometimes you want so much more. And sometimes it can feel like you want change that other people just don't even want for themselves. And so
Yeah.
if nothing else, I just want to encourage you that there is something you're doing. It seems small and you might not see the benefits of your work right now, but I don't know those people who helped me when I was 16 years old with a baby. I really can't say that what they did for me didn't help me, right? I didn't feel like they helped me at that moment, and perhaps they didn't feel like they helped me, but there's been people who have come in my life who have said different things to me at different times that I held on to, and I use those at those very challenging and critical times. And so I want to encourage you that in the work you're doing, if you don't see per se the exact change or what you'd like to see, know that it's not in vain, that sometimes you're just sowing seeds, and sometimes it's just going to take some time for it to water and grow. So, because we get bogged down in that great work that you do, and it's easy to feel like I keep taking horses to the water and these folks just won't drink. And
No,
it will be really difficult. So I just want to say thank you for the great work you do in our work of counseling and helping people to feel better about themselves, because when they don't do that, then they don't do that. Then when they don't do this in work, it's hard to do that out work. So your work is not in vain. So just want to share it with you.
Absolutely. I appreciate
That
those
was
positive,
good.
because it's so true. It's really true. That's most difficult part of my work, I think, as a social worker, is knowing that, that person has to be ready to change, and that, sometimes your work is just like a drop in a huge bucket. But you're right. And that's why I'm happy I have a team, to support me and, just help encourage me.
Yes. And I'm glad that you all are we having this conversation, because it seems as though we got to get the parents involved some way, because they are the head of the households.
Yeah.
Right,
For
Greg?
sure.
Women
Yes,
are the head. If we don't get to the women, we messed up.
One of
If
the things
you don't
that
take care of their mental stability, like their parents, she's unstable too. So by
I'm not
her unstable, she's making the child unstable, and the child want it. But if the parents say no, well, we gotta wait, and it just get all. And so you got to give them a deadline, a hard stop, hard love, but you got to give it to it. Antoinette, before we go, and then Grady, and then we can be off this call.
Oh, I have enjoyed everything. From the beginning to the end. But me running a daycare center on 78th Street, I had a Greystone. They wound up selling the building, so I had to close out. So what you find is that parents, for me, they never tell you what's going on with their child when they drop the baby off. Had I known what I know now, I'm doing a whole little procedure. Your child allergic? Do they have different conditions? Because we don't know. And in different areas, we need help as well, that I needed in the space. Because when I had a child just running around, just wouldn't stop, wouldn't sit down, wouldn't take a break, just he had a condition. But it didn't mean for me to mistreat him. But I spent a lot of time with him, and I had two other workers helping me out. I had 10 children. So, and these parents were a part of the government funding to fund the daycare. So back then, it wasn't a lot of programming for them, but we do got to get back to loving the child, because it's not the children that's doing it, is the parents. And these forms of abuse, not putting them in school, not letting them get their education, and I feel that it is selfish. This is where we're getting at. We're getting at selfish individuals, selfish parents who really don't care. We're dealing with issues where these women did not want the babies, but they had the babies. And then that's another form of, since I didn't like your daddy, I want to be sure.
No, you
I'm
didn't
just
say
serious.
that.
This is what we got to look at with this mental state,
Yeah.
that you're not going to get anything. So I'm well brassed across the boards with my degree in communications, radio, TV, then business administration. Then I'm like, oh, I should become blah, 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 because we can wear as many hats. But I'm my own individual responsibility. And I've always, for me, it's been the helping hand and helping others get to the next place. But my thing now are the children, because they're missing. They're missing.
I agree. I think too, though, Antoinette, to add to that, and then I'm sorry, Grady, like, would y'all let me talk? You're on here with all these women, but one thing
I
I
have
wanted
something. Yeah, I do have something. I do have something to say, and I know I love Black women, so I love it. Well, intelligent. I mean, I shouldn't be discriminating, but it's a breath of fresh air to hear, especially what Antoinette just said. That was key to it, because I'm a product of CPS. I'm a product of City Colleges. I'm a proud graduate of Malcolm X College. Okay. And I participate in this LS local school council stuff. So I've been on local school councils. So I see this education or this community development, whatever we decide to call it, I see it from three angles. I see it as a student. I was one of those little boys that used to sit in those chairs. And then I became a parent. And then I became a so-called policy person in this education space. So I've had opportunity to view this thing from all three angles. And one of the things that I don't want to say my children, well, they're successful if you want to call it that. But one of the things I did, I made sure that I had a relationship with their teacher and I had a relationship with the administration. So it was a three-pronged approach that I used to get my children through the public school system. Mm-hmm. So if we don't look at that, remember, as a parent, the administration, and the teacher. So we don't have that three-headed, I want to call it a three-headed monster, but we have to understand that those three things are, they're working, whether we recognize them or not. And one of the things that, by me being on the local school council, that's one of the reasons why I think I gravitated towards Ms. Woodley. She was in one of our classes because we one of our firms, we had a license to do training in the dispensary space. And one of my partners at the time, I don't know how he picked her out. He just brought her to me and said, man, you need to work with her. I said, why? But then when I started digging into her background, and when she said she had a type 75, I said, oh, I know what that is. Only reason why I knew what that was because of my policy position on the local school council. Other than that, that would have went over my head. So I said, I need to stay, I don't know if I adopted her or kidnapped her or what, but we've been together ever since. And we've made some tremendous strides. Because look, I said, look, I laughed at her at first. Then I'll get to where I'm trying to go. I laughed at her first. Here she go, talking about saving the world. Oh, shit. Here go another one.
By all means necessary.
I said, all right, this is my last time trying to work with these do-gooders. And when I found out her heart was really in it, I've just loved her ever since. I'm like, we've been like, we talk every day. And the only reason why we talk every day because we plot and plan and all this other stuff. And I have to admit, we've made tremendous strides outside of the traditional, the traditional folk that's been doing this stuff for the last 30 years that I know of. But back to, I'm glad you on, Ms. Davis, because one of the things that I'm in the construction space, right? And one of the things we're working, I'm more on the I'm on the West Side Branch NAACP Economic Development Committee. So of course they're in negotiations with the city colleges now. So one of the things that I asked the president, who I've been knowing 30, 40 years of the West Side Branch NAACP, I said that I understand Malcolm X is geared towards the health careers. I said, but I'm interested in the skilled trades because there's no real infrastructure. There's no real infrastructure to teach our boys and girls to be into the space unless going through other people. And I've seen them discriminate against our people in terms of our boys getting into the trades, even though they brag about the fact that, you know, they're letting us in. But when you look at the final numbers, you'll see that it's all talk as opposed to actual.
Great.
When you ask for the numbers, when you
Yeah.
ask for the actual numbers, you'll see that they just talking. So I'm saying, you know what? I'm tired of begging other people to train our children. So I've taken on this so-called role on this, whether it's a pre-apprenticeship or first-year registered apprenticeship program. We have to get our boys and girls into these trades, because when you start talking about affordability, to be able to afford a house, I mean, that's one of the ways by which we could do that, get into these trades, whether it's a carpenter or but as a matter of fact, I didn't know that Kennedy King has a full service HVAC program.
Grady, I was the dean.
I just met with Dean Holmes like 2 weeks ago.
Chandria,
she gave me a tour. I said, oh my God. I said, it's right here on 60. I know I'm from the West Side, but I've been on 63rd in Austin.
But you should visit, you should get over to Dawson Tech. I was the dean at Dawson Tech.
I'm glad you said that.
So you need to get over to Dawson Tech because
hold on, watch this. Dean Holmes set it up for us to come over there and do a tour of Dawson.
Okay,
yeah,
I have one more question.
Last thing, then I'm shut up because I'm excited. I'm getting.
Oh boy!
One more thing.
That's what happened.
One more thing. Representative, watch this. Representative Sean Ford has found a way to get the West Side Learning Center a $5 million appropriation to renovate their whole building. So my thing is that, and I know Dawson on the South Side, but can some of those students work on that project? I mean, they're apprentices, but there's some room there's some room that can be made to bring on the apprentices. Wouldn't that be a beautiful thing if City College's students worked on a City College project?
Yeah, it's already happening on 20-something West Lake Street. There's a building there that there's a project that's ensuing right now. That project is a connection between City Colleges of Chicago and some West Side coalition. I'm not sure which one. I was on that project a while ago, but there's always ways that City Colleges is connecting with community-based type of funding, CDB grants and things of that sort. So there is already a connection with them building at 2711 West Lake. I just remember from putting it in my GPS. So whatever is there, there's already a project where they're looking to utilize students, and they're looking to bring some of those programs from Dawson to the West Side. So that's a bigger push, is to make sure that people on the West Side are not outsourced, so they don't have to, so that they have a chance to do some of those programs that are at Dawson. So that's a bigger push, is to bring some of those programs into the West Side where there's a lot of people. So that's what they're working on right now.
Thank you. And just in case, you could thank Dean Holmes. Actually, it was Dean Rose who introduced me to. I know you know your colleagues. So Dean Rose came to one of our community meetings at the Learning Center, and she introduced me to Dean Holmes. And of course, I left the West Side, went over there and talked to her. And I said to her, if I'm impressed by you all's program, I'm gonna come back and talk to you. So if I don't come back, that means that's just me. I said, if I don't come back and talk to you, I'm not impressed. Do you know I shot my little butt back over there and talked to her and thanked her for showing me, because I didn't know it existed. But they got a full service. They got a full service HVAC program.
Okay. So listen, I got a Russell Linder. Are you available? I know you've been sitting here, and I just wanted to make sure you introduce yourself or tell us a little bit about what you do. You got to unmute yourself, because I got a blank face, but I got a name. Anybody know Russell Linder?
No. Yeah, I know Russell Linder. He was at the meeting we had a few days ago. He was the loan officer.
Okay, unmute yourself, Russell.
So
hey, Russell. Now let's go full circle. So Russell Linder, hi, how are you doing? Now, I know we talked about education. We talked about the parents, social, mental. At the end of the day, we need some personal credit. We need to be able to build in our community and get these loans, and if we're going to progress. And I think financial literacy is going to be key between Victoria and Russell in building our wealth, and as well as those that are looking to get into some of these trades, like Grady said. I'm loving the CBO. We would like to be a part of the CBO, whatever that may take, a MOU. We've been trying to figure it out. We have seen city colleges with we have seen city colleges for the last 3 months, and I'm still trying to figure out what has transpired. And I think they did come out to talk about some of their programs, but we have yet to see it really be impacted into our community. Everything is moving, money is dropping all over the place, but we just need to at least halt it and say what is done. Like, how did we service the community? Did we service the parents? Because there ain't no sense of us having all this money and communication, ain't nothing being done. Like, I don't, it's like being in the kitchen and the food ain't cooked yet. We got all the preparations, we still ain't had the plate to eat. And so what I'm saying is we need to bring it all to say what is working, and then take that little is working and make it bigger. And we have yet to get to that point for the whole community. What you say about that, Ms. Davis?
So I will say that right now there is work that's being done. What gets difficult is it's difficult for us to quantify. We get thousands of people through the door and we're working on different projects, but there's very few avenues where you can report out. So for example, already we've got, just say 30 students, 28 students that just completed this project, of which 17 of them have already started working, right? And so that's a good gain already, but we don't have a venue, a conduit by which we share that. So it would seem sometimes as though there's money being poured in, but we don't see the fruitage of our spirit, so to speak. But the truth of the matter is it is happening. There's just not a formal way that we can report out. So I'm sharing here on this platform, DFSS, we have a large database where we share information, because that grant is for the purpose in churning out people who work in the city in high demand fields. So that's why we couldn't just pick what we wanted. Those were really concentrated efforts that went into identifying that we need people who can work here in Chicago with a certain skill set in certain fields. And that's how it was decided what we would offer by way of our Career Growth Chicago. So there are benefits, and people are growing, and people are now better prepared and gaining industry work. The challenge for us is building that infrastructure where we can capture that. College was college 20 years ago. Our job was just to educate people, right? And so now that we've moved into the space that education without employment is useless. So now that we've gone to a model in the last 10 years of picking up that responsibility, that takes time to build infrastructure. And so as we are positively moving towards a better infrastructure, we do have to be cognizant of that there's very few places where we can report out on the great things that are happening. But anecdotally, I have access to many stories of people who have come to us in very destitute situations, and now they're working for CTA. We have a second chance program right at Olive Harvey College, where those people have gone through some I always say, some events of life, and now this is their second chance. And those students are in those programs, they're getting their CDLB, and they're not going to go clean the buses, which is the job they had prior to. They're now driving the buses. And so we just want to make sure we're an institution that's not preparing people for jobs they could have got anyway. I don't feel good about getting somebody a job at Starbucks. I don't feel good about getting somebody a job at Target. I really want to get you into that mid-management at Target. I need you to be earning 50 to 55,000, so at least you can feed the family and take 2 days off to go see your baby at school. So for us, we're moving into a space that we've not ever encountered at City College, and we are doing our very best to build that infrastructure so that we can support that on-ramping right into employment. So things are happening. We just don't have as much set up to where we can report out on that. But again, just with our DFSS grant alone, it's only been around for a very short time, and we already have a cohort of students who have been successful and have gotten through those programs and are already moving into the work field. Even in childcare, a lot of the students, their program is early childhood. We've heard lots of successes from students who were working just at the daycare at some level, but now they can be an official daycare teacher, right? And so this is a passion of theirs, and these students wanted to do that. So they came to our program and are putting forth all the effort to get those things done. And then remember, in adult ed, we're also challenged with, if people say they want more education, we're not pushing them in the workforce. We're saying it's up to you. If you want to go to work, here's our solution for work. But if you want to stay with us and stack your credentials, because when you're done with college, you want to be able to earn this amount and do this kind of job, we want to be there for them as well. So we're trying to provide that really long range of services to meet every student's needs. But we are finding great success in students who are coming to us and are now on a trajectory to jobs of earning. I got in the wrong field. I wish I'd have done, when I was the dean over at Dawson Tech for about 6 months. I served as the interim dean there. I never knew there's a highway construction program. We partner with IDOT over there.
That's what we want right there.
They are churning out 16 to 30 students a year who now go on to work. When I tell you those students are going on to work at BNSF, they're going to work for Graphite. Those students are not turning out to $16 and $17. Those students, we have a connection with ComEd at Dawson. Those students are leaving making 6 figures within a year.
Absolutely.
So Dawson Tech, Grady, you got to, when you get that meeting over there, you're going to be feeling really good to try and get those kind of efforts duplicated. But there's lots of connections that we don't get a chance to talk about at city colleges, but we have great connections with helping students get into work. That's now the business that we're in.
And I was going to add to that. We had some students that was with APAC that actually took the ComEd test, but they also had got training from the school, the college on the South Side. They actually got their CDL. So even though they didn't make it to the ComEd, they were still able to do truck driving. So these same students that are doing truck driving that went through the ComEd program that didn't make it, one student got accepted to Dawson. He applied for the grant. They're now coming back and say they want to purchase a house. So that's how I came into Victoria. I was like, hey, I got some first-time home buyers. Young men might not even talk about this at home with their parents. They might not be talking about personal credit. They might not even be talking about mental health. But they don't have, to me, I don't see where the community is showing them the rites of passage of where to get from A to B. All they see is the foolishness they see on the streets and on the TV. But having some type of rites of passage for the young men, so they'll know, hey, if I didn't get this, where do I go? So I'm glad that you mentioned those other city colleges, but it was up to the community organizations to make the partnerships with the colleges to bring that in, because our students was not leaving. And as you all know, the history of Austin, a lot of the people that live in the community, they don't work in the community.
Yeah, it takes a village. It's not, the institution of learning is just that, right? So we can't do it all. We can't save the world without our connections with the community, because what people need, what families and communities need, is a really big circle of things. They need some financial literacy to figure out how to get that credit together. They need to know how to get a decent job. They need to know how to take care of their children's well-being. They need an education. So there's lots of things that's happening that makes a community and a family sustainable, and a college can't do it on their own, because that's not the business we're in. It's not that we're not doing something right. That's just not the business we're in. So we have to partner with agencies who have, like yourself, that wheelhouse and that purview over those different things, so that we can connect. So when we turn our students out, that they're already leveraging the support from the community connections that we make. So it's absolutely a joint effort. It's why our chancellor is #1 on making these kind of connections. He just is challenged with the fact that the city colleges is huge, and so is the city of Chicago. So if you could imagine, on any given day, there could be upwards of 200 agencies that are looking for help and support. And imagine that's a whole leg of work for us to try and sift through that, because you work very hard, but we are a large institution. And so our chancellor is one chancellor of many that is very dedicated to the adult ed field. He worked for Instituto. So he came from understanding what poverty looks like and how it impacts families and how it impacts people who are non-native English speakers. So he has a really great commitment, and it shows in his hiring. It shows in who he pulls on. It shows in his relationships with us. It shows in his mission. He is really a great leader for our institution, and making sure that we all understand that alone we can't do it. We have to connect to the community to make this happen. He's been doing really great work in that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so excited. So without further ado, I believe that Ms. Davis gave it to us, and basically parents, the community need to get on board. We can't stay in the house any longer. That's not gonna help. We all need to support and build it, and then share it. Like really share the resources and what's working. And what we need to see more of is the people that are getting the success stories, hear more success stories. So I do have at least 3 success stories one from a student that went to Michelle Clark. He was special ed. He's has his own plumbing company and he works. And then I have those 2 students that actually came through and got their CDL through the city colleges. And then I have a few students, which is here now. We all got our project management certification. So we want to be able to, we want students to be able to say, look at us, say, hey, if they did it, we can do it, and build on that, but bring the family along, because without the parents and without the community resources in these small agencies, it's a big job. But I thank you for coming on and sharing all that. But we need to make sure we get that PowerPoint. We share those flyers with everyone and the contact information, especially for Victoria. That would be a good connect. And Grady, I know you are passionate about that project that they're doing with the highway. That was going to be one of my things that I got on today. But making sure that we have our certification. Everybody pretty much here got a certification in something. So being able to get those certifications and build with other community leaders and agencies, so we can show and share with the community to help them build it better. So I'm going to be ending the call. Mr. Russell, did you have anything to say before we leave? Because I got to make sure I get Ms. Davis. I'm going to share her email. Is it okay I share your email with everyone here, Ms. Davis?
And I'm going to put in the PowerPoint the information that's better shared than my personal. If it goes to me, I work in a funny kind of way. I work at the district. So I want to give you in the PowerPoint, the last slide, it'll be specific. Hey, for Victoria, for Antoinette, I want them to connect to this person. So I'm going to go through and just make sure it's specific enough that it's useful to the people on the call. Because if you send it to me, it's going to be in there with 7,000 other emails. And so I might as well get you to where you need to be. I want Grady to get Anisha's information. She's the dean at Dawson. So she'll be able to talk all about IDOT, working with stuff, the 2711 Lake building. Like, I want to give people what they actually need.
Yes.
Yeah.
And is it possible? I'm not for sure. Since all of us here pretty much are degreed up, right? How do we get to come to the schools and speak about what we do in the community as well? Like even though you all come out, but it's like, how do we get that that process going with speaking at some of these schools to let people know what we're doing in the community?
And I'll share that information in there as well. I'll put, that's our community liaison department. So I'll put her name in that as well.
Okay.
So I got 4.
Ms. Davis. Oh, I'm sorry. When you get a chance, also, if you could send Russell Linder the contact for the Olive Harvey credit program, so that he can coordinate with them to possibly do something with taking once these students become credit worthy, or showing them how to become credit worthy to purchase a home.
Perfect. Right. So I will do. Yep. So Russell Linder for that, community liaison for Audrey, ECE for Antoinette and Deja. And also Victoria, I put 2. And then for Deja, I want to hook her to connect her with the human services. There are people who get their human services license at human services degree, their associate degrees at Harold Washington College. And so that's some connection too. I don't know if their students would be able to come and spend some hours to help, it's just different ways that I'd want to make sure they connect. Russell, we keep saying you and then we run away.
No questions. Thank you all for the invitation and the great information. I look to work with everyone in the future. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you, folks. Have a good one. I'm going to send it all to you.
Thank you, everyone.
Audrey, it'll be after
Coffee will be on me. Just send me the link. I'm sending everybody a coffee card.
Oh, thank you.
Take care,
Ms. Davis.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you. Y'all have a great week. Look forward to working with you. All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.